Am I the asshole for not sharing my lottery winnings from a white elephant gift? The recent family Christmas party was at my 22M house this year and about 25 people showed up. The traditional game this year was white elephant. My family plays the dice version with some house rules for context. Anyone who doesn't have a gift by the end of the game will receive $10 as a gift. Trading gifts is allowed only with the $10 consolation gift. The game had a total of about 40 gifts. I ended the game with 4 gifts, and 4 family members ended with none. My gifts were a space heater, windshield wipers, a 20-pound gummy bear, and a $50 Starbucks gift card. Of the 4 people without gifts, 3 of them got rejected, meaning only 1 trade was made. My cousin, 26F, ended with $50 worth of lottery tickets but assumed they'd be worth nothing and I don't go to Starbucks. We couldn't trade because of the rules above and argued that the gift cards and lottery tickets had a numerical value like the $10 gift, so they should be tradable. The family agreed and more gift cards were exchanged. Trading ended and people began using their gifts, so I went to put my gifts back in my room and a quarter to scratch the $5 10 tickets. I wasn't expecting to win anyway, as I thought that scratching the second about to move on to the third. I did a double take as I realized I'd won $25,000. For a second I thought they were fake, but my grandma, 82F, who bought them, wouldn't do that. I sat in my room for a bit and decided to keep quiet about it, knowing how some family members might react. I thought about how to tell them throughout the party. When they asked I said no and that I threw them out. The next day, the 29th, I asked my mom, 58F, to come with me to cash in the lottery ticket. She was surprised of course and told me that I needed to go to the casino. My brother, 28M, thought it was funny and tagged along. He proceeded to post snaps of me being handed $100 bills in the casino. Although I told him not to say anything because of the commotion it would cause and that I'd share some with the family, he posted it anyway. An hour passes and I'm pulled into a group chat of people from the party plus family members that couldn't make it. I said I'd give everyone who came to the party $250 and thought I was being selfish. For 30-ish people that attended, that's $7,500 right there. I felt that was fair. Family members who weren't there argued that they shouldn't be excluded. Others argued that $250 isn't enough if I have $25,000. After about 30 minutes of arguing, I was pissed and gave up negotiating. I told everyone that I'm sorry that they're not happy with your re-gifts this year and that the rule was that all trades are final. I kept all the money, put $15,000 in my savings, and invested the rest. Many of my family members are still upset with me, even as far as calling me cruel and heartless. I told them that if $250 isn't enough from a $100 limit, they're the selfish ones. Am I the asshole? Note that no household or individual family member is struggling financially. That is why my personal rule is I never give out lottery tickets as any sort of gift. Because if you lose, people are like, haha, you got nothing for your gift. If you win, everybody wants a piece of it. It's your money. You don't need to share it with anybody. And you will never make anyone happy because they all want more, and if you end up more than them, they will think you're being greedy. Nobody wins in that way. Also, your brother was a super huge a-hole for posting it online knowing there was going to be issues. You offered to be nice and everybody said it wasn't enough free money. So you did the right thing. No one gets anything and you get to have some savings cushion and a little investing. In ta and don't think twice. Honestly, your whole family is the ah. What kind of deranged white elephant game do people not wind up with gifts, and you wind up with 4? That shitty game was bound to start fights to begin with. Everyone else sucks for not being happy with a generous $250. You're not the asshole for that offer. Your family is though for being greedy. In ta. Next time, don't say anything. Seriously, there is a reason why people who win the lottery need to remain anonymous. People get funny about money. Lesson learned. Not the asshole. $250 is pretty generous for doing nothing, they should be happy they got anything. First rule of lottery winners. You never tell anyone. Ever. Please set aside money for taxes. Am I the asshole for refusing to buy Girl Scout cookies from my coworker? I, 36F, am a new manager at my office. I started about 4 months ago, and while I've been trying to get to know my team, I still don't have all the dynamics figured out. One of my team members recently asked me to buy Girl Scout cookies from his daughter and I said I couldn't because I have celiac disease, which makes me allergic to the cookies. He suggested I purchase a box and give it to a friend or family member because it would mean a lot to him and his kid. The conversation continued back and forth, but we didn't argue, so I thought everything was fine between us. Then I find out that he's been talking behind my back about how bad of a manager I am because I'm stubborn and stingy. Apparently their previous manager used to buy a lot of cookies, so I look mean in comparison. I'm not close enough with my other coworkers, besides the one who told me about the gossip, to talk to them about this, But I get the impression they're on his side because one of them made a big show of leaving a plate of cookies they'd bought from him in the break room, telling everyone to help themselves and then saying directly to me, "This flavor is gluten-free, so feel to eat some." I wanted to keep the peace, so I just said thanks, but I didn't eat any because I'm pretty strict about cross-contamination with gluten. I worry that I made things worse by not eating them, but at the same time I don't think I'm obliged to support his cause. My friends say I should just buy a box this time, and if he does it again then I can stand my ground, but it's not really about the cookies now. It's about him trying to shame me into doing what he wants. Am I the asshole for not buying cookies from him? Edit 1. Thank you everyone for weighing in. I'm surprised by how many people have been affected by people selling things in their office. I definitely won't be buying his cookies, and I'm going to sit down with him to discuss the bad-mouthing. I think I'll wait to escalate this to HR because I'm getting the sense that he wouldn't respond well. It's definitely tough as a new manager and woman, so I'm determined to do this right. Not the asshole. The only Girl Scout cookies that are gluten-free have to be shipped with 4 or more other boxes of cookies, and they don't even declare whether or not they're made in a shared facility. Fellow celiac here. Health is not something to be taken lightly, and you should never be forced to buy something you can't even consume. Not the asshole. If a colleague puts an order sheet in the break room where people can write in their orders, I don't think anyone is bothered by that. Going up to each worker and asking is a bit much, and I'm glad none of my colleagues actually want to do that. Slightly smiling face. In my workplace it is banned to sell your Avon, Scentsy, school fundraisers, etc. Check with HR to see if there's a similar policy. I don't want to bothered with pressure to spend dollar while I'm trying to make money. If you're the manager, I would have a slid down with this employee and tell them you don't appreciate this becoming inter-office chatter and him blasting you for not buying his cookies to the other staff. Explain to him that this is not professional behavior for an office environment and you are disappointed that something like this has become an issue. Not the asshole. My daughter is in the Girl Scouts and I am one of those rare dads you see at cookie booths. I will put up a poster for people who want to see cookies and that's it. I hate people who try to hard sell cookies. It's a real shitty though to do. Sorry you had to deal with that. Definitely NTA. There is no world in which you did anything wrong by not buying cookies. Not the asshole. You should never be forced to buy something or eat something that you do not want, regardless of your health or dietary concerns. This situation just sounds like an HR nightmare and not at all appropriate for the workplace. If you look mean because you won't shell out money for cookies, people need to be reminded that it's not in your job description. Am I the asshole for grounding my 15-year-old daughter after she colored her hair? As a disclaimer, I have nothing against colored hair or people who choose to color their hair. My hair was bright green as a teenager, lol. My daughter Alexis, not her real name, is 15. She has been dancing recreationally since she was 3 years old and has been doing competitive dance since she was 9 years old. She has nationals coming up, which is basically a very big and important dance comp where studios from surrounding states come to this big convention center in the city and compete. She is also obsessed with Paramore, thanks to my husband who has taken her to many of their live shows. She idolizes Hayley Williams and has wanted to dye her hair like Hayley's for a few years now. This year for her birthday, she wants to dye her whole head neon orange. I told her absolutely not because she's not allowed to hair any unnatural hair colors for nationals and other conventions, comps that are coming up. She is very well aware of this rule because it is the standard in the competitive dance world. I've already paid all of the entry fees and cannot get a refund for this year. I told her that once nationals and all the mandatory conventions are over, she can color her hair however she wants. She did not like this answer and stomped off to her room. I figured I would just let her be and eventually she would come around. I was wrong. She went to a sleepover at her friend's house about a week ago and came back with the same bright orange hair I told her she could not have. I was cooking when she walked into the house and nearly dropped the knife I was using. I was extremely upset and asked her what she was thinking. She gave me some excuse which I can't remember, then rolled her eyes and said something along the lines of, "It's just hair dye, it'll come out before nationals." I was livid and shouted at her, which I'll admit I'm not proud of, and she ran off to her room in tears. She knows better, and I'm completely dumbfounded as to why she thought it would be okay considering nationals is in 2 weeks. She's washed her hair at least 6 times in the last few days and the orange is still stuck. I bought color remover and let it sit on her hair for a good 2 hours, and nothing. I'm so pissed because now I'm going to have to take her to the salon and spend $300+ to get this color removed when I'm already over $400 deep in the hole after the fees for the competition. My daughter is currently grounded, still upset with me and hasn't spoken more than a few words to me in days. She cried to my husband after I shouted at her and now he thinks I'm being unreasonable and called me Momzilla. Am I being crazy about this? She knew the rules and I even told her she could do the hair dye after we get this over with. If this color doesn't come out, she literally won't be able to compete and I'll have wasted over $400. Edit. Looking at some of these comments, I just want to clarify that when I asked Alexis if she wanted to compete, she was very enthusiastic and told me yes. She has done nationals every year for a few years now and has loved it every time she has done it. I am very clear with her that since it is optional, she has the choice whether or not she wants to still participate and I am not forcing her in any way to do it. I am upset because she told me she wanted to do it. I paid the fees and now we can't back out of it, but also she will not be bailed to compete if the orange doesn't come out. Not the asshole. Honestly, I would just leave it, take her to nationals, and when they tell her she can't compete because of her hair she can look the consequences of her actions in the eye. And then she can pay you back the $400 she wasted by not just waiting a few weeks. She's plenty old enough to know that she made a mistake. That's if she wants to compete. Maybe she was trying to get out of it without telling you? I say all this as someone who's been dyeing their hair, fashion colors, since they were 15. I fully support self-expression, but you have to time it right if you have events like this. Not the asshole, but maybe the answer isn't fix her hair but accept that she is going to miss nationals. If dance was that important to her she would have made sure she would qualify. If she's upset about missing it she will learn there are consequences for choices and in future maybe she will take them into consideration. Need more info I guess. Does she care about this dance comp thing, or are you pushing her? How much did you pay for it? Is she usually defiant about rules? Did you discuss it with her, or just tell her she had to do what you said? Regardless of which of you is an asshole here, you definitely don't need to spend $400 at the salon. Jesus fuck. Just buy a box of hair dye in a natural color darker than the orange and do it at home. It's super easy and will fix the problem for less than $50. I color my hair at home once every 4 to 6 weeks, because I cannot stand sitting still at the salon that long or paying so much for it. Why do you need to pay $300 plus to get the dye to come out? Just get a dark natural color box dye to go over it. Probably won't look as good, but it'll grow out eventually. Although before doing anything I would question if your daughter actually wants to continue dancing. Since she knew about the rule it seems likely she could be using this as a way to get out of dance. Especially if she's been pressured to continue. What is grounding her going to accomplish? You paid for an activity, she knew the consequences of dyeing her hair and she dyed it anyway. Natural consequence of her actions is they won't let her compete in nationals. That's a pretty big lesson to learn. If anything else, have her pay you back the money you spent on something she can no longer participate in. But grounding her seems pointless. It's about teaching her to make the right choices and letting natural consequences show her why she made the wrong decision. Not about exerting control. Hey those colorful hairsprays can work miracles. She keeps her orange hair, you spend like $100 instead of several hundred. I've used colored hairspray and root touch-up sprays a ton before to have a color for a day or weekend. It took me like 3-4 cans to cover my head evenly each time, but it works. Am I the asshole for refusing to let someone else use my address? My partner's sibling, A, adores their distant relative, B, and wants to help B's kid get into an elite public school in our district. A and B live outside this district. A is our landlord and we pay fair rent. A is pressuring us to allow B to use our address so the kid can go to this school, assuming kid scores high enough on the admissions test. A decided to loop us into a text convo with B and put us on the spot asking if they can do this instead of asking us separately about this first. My partner and I are in professions that are subject to background checks and ethical codes, and my understanding is that schools these days are much stricter about residency requirements. I don't want to put our professions in jeopardy. Am I the asshole for saying no? This is so many people removed, it's ridiculous for them to even ask. If B wants their kid to go to a particular school, B needs to move to the district. This is the kind of amateur fraud that is so easy to detect, they are idiots to think they can get away with it. I'd be worried about what else your landlord is doing that is sketchy. Do they actually have a license to rent out your space? I'd check if I were you. Not the asshole. If A is your landlord, then I am assuming the home address is legally in her name. I would tell A and B you will not accept to commit fraud, but what it does with her name and address is on her. Not the asshole. In short, don't do shady sh*t if you are not prepared to own the consequences of getting caught out. In this case your partner's sibling stands to get all of the benefit of doing this, and you bear all of the risk. Given that you and your partner are both in professions that impose background checks and ethical codes, you should be giving your partner's sibling a hard no on this one without feet that you are the AH. Not the asshole. I think I saw another Reddit post on maybe r legal out of CE. The comments said this would be considered fraud and illegal to do. It might have to do with one school be forced to spend money on a child that doesn't live in the area. Not the asshole. Do not under any circumstances allow them to do this. Give her your answer over text in a way you can record if you ever need to explicitly show you did not give her permission to do this. This is fraud. Parents have been prosecuted and even jailed for doing this. I don't know if there were any consequences for the person whose address they used, but it's not worth taking that risk. Just reply that you can't assist them with committing fraud.